We are right now with Jordan Robertson. First of all, I would like to have an introduction of your company and the charge that you into this.
As an introduction for StackTeck, we are a leading manufacturer of injection molds. And I personally have a global responsibility for business development and marketing at StackTeck. Beyond just molds, we also make automation, and in particular, we are focused on immold labeling automation that is used most commonly in packaging, but sometimes in medical. We view the industry in Mexico as being very exciting because, of course, the growth rate of the plastics industry in Mexico has been very strong for many years, and of course, with the growth of the industry. And with a focus on, typically there is a focus on the North American marketplace. And so it's very large volumes. It's actually the largest volumes in the global industry. And that happens to be an area of specialty for us. So we have many projects going on in Mexico. And in fact, starting a little over 20 years ago, Mexico was the first place we ever decided to have a local representative, and we made arrangements for an engineer based here in Canada to move to Mexico, and that was the first time we ever had anybody outside of our office here in Canada, and today we have an office with 3 people in it, based in Mexico, and that's our largest office anywhere in the world for the Canadian business.
Well, your facility is in Canada, you export the molds to Mexico, but which are the most important markets that you are at right now?
Our biggest market segment is focused on packaging, and there are 2 primary areas of that. One is thin wall packaging, typically for dairy or deli style applications, and typically a food container that is resealable. And so the consumer buys something, they go home, they put it in their refrigerator or their cupboard, and then they're dosing out of the package. It's resealable and it goes back. That's what most of our thin wall packaging is. In the caps and closures business, we do basically anything you would call a cap or a closure, and that can be the cap on a bottle of water or a carbonated soft drink. It could be a flip top on a bottle of shampoo. It could be a liquid detergent cap. We do pharmaceutical applications, and in caps, sometimes the requirements of a food cap and a medical cap are very similar. Other times they're very different. We've done lots of complicated pharmaceutical applications where there's tamper evidency, and we want to make something that is child resistant. Child resistant caps typically are an assembly of multiple parts that go together, and you have to push down hard in order to get the cap off of the jar or the bottle. And so we get into medical in that area. Also, there's a lot of high volume medical parts that have a cap on them, such as a test tube, such as a vial, such as a flask. And so the technology that we use in all our other cap molds translates in a straightforward way to being similar to what we're doing in medical caps. And then for specialty medical items, such as a test tube, such as a vial, such as a petri dish, it happens that the technology that we use in thin wall packaging enables us to very tightly control the size and the performance of the medical parts, such as a test tube. And of course,
how is the answer in these times to new projects?
So we're talking about lead time of the molds, and yes, absolutely. During the pandemic, in the last year, we have done projects at unprecedented speeds, things we've never done before. We had one project in particular for a molder in North America who needed 4 weeks lead time for PPE, personal protective equipment, and they needed to be able to use a stack mold, and they needed to deliver it in 4 weeks. It something we had never done before, and so we understood though that it was extremely important to help our customer to achieve the goal, and we became creative and we elevated the priority of it just because of it was protective personal equipment in the early stages of a pandemic, and just because of how important that was, we gave it the highest possible priority, and we actually had the first mold done in 3.5 weeks. We were actually half a week early on that project, and so there have been many examples through the pandemic where we built multiple molds for test tubes, where the test tube is used in a COVID test kit. And of course, there's been a lot of demand for those, and a very high level of interest of having a mold delivered faster than we've ever done before.
Do you think that in Mexico could be opportunity that companies like you come to Mexico, or these kind of molds are too sophisticated to come to Mexico to make a manufacture? Have you think about to put a facility in Mexico or not?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, we have a global presence. For a long time, we were a single business just in Canada, and starting in 2019, with a corporate reorganization with the company that owns us, we gained a sister company based in South Korea, and that was a subsidiary of a sister company that became a direct sister company, and they started to use our brand name, and we are now using the StackTeck brand for both facilities. But to date, it's 2 facilities worldwide, and beyond that, our coverage of the world is to have sales representatives and service partners on basically every continent around the world. And the question of would we look at opening a factory in Mexico or not? It's something that we would be thinking about. Mexico is one of the largest groups of our customers. We're shipping a lot of molds there. So it would be one of the more interesting countries for us. But at the same time, I have to say, we are not a really large company. We have approximately 250 employees. Our shipments last year were just over $50 million US, which is, among mold makers, we're a big company. But in the global industry of manufacturing, we are actually a relatively small company. And as a large mold maker, we have significant economies of scale in our factory in Canada. So if we were to think of creating satellite plants, we would have a challenge with respect to economies of scale and having to build a collection of machinery for making molds in another location in addition to the current headquarters location in Canada. And we would also have a challenge with respect to the expertise, because we don't have a really large number of people in our company overall. We're not a company with thousands and thousands of employees. So those are some significant challenges. And if you look at the top tier high end injection mold makers worldwide, generally speaking, they tend to be formed in one location, and they grow. If they open another location, it is usually in another corner of the global marketplace, and that's usually on the other side of an ocean. For the Europeans who are a competitor of ours who started there, they might open a factory in the Americas or in Asia or both, and that's just due to time zones and geographic reasons. So those are many factors that we would consider.
So I know that we have increased in this industry, but how kind of products do you think that could have opportunity to make in Mexico?
Well, I think that one thing that we have seen over time is a lot of the projects we work on are for very high volume applications, whether it's medical or other applications. And the very high level volumes tend to be focused on North America. I guess it could be the United States only, because that is in terms of where a brand is using the same item throughout the marketplace. That's the biggest individual country. And then if you look at North America, there's a lot of products that are used in all of North America, and it's the same product wherever you go. There'll be some different decorations, some different labeling, different languages, certainly, but fundamentally the mold and the item in many cases is the same. And so we find ourselves working on a lot of projects that have that kind of volume, and where the ownership of the company could be based, in many cases it is based in Mexico, in some cases it is international companies as well. But since transportation cost is important for converters in plastic parts, very often the factories we're shipping molds to are in the northern part of Mexico, because that's just geographically closer to the middle of the overall marketplace of the North American continent. But those are the types of projects those are certainly the larger projects that we work on in Mexico.